Hello everybody, it's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on November 5, 2025. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. And I'm reading through some posts on Quora, and a couple of them were interesting. I thought I'd read them to you about gang stalking. So one question is, how long is a targeted individual gang stalked? Does the gang stalking ever stop? Now, this is actually a bot assistant responding to this. This is not a person. Targeted individual and gang stalking describe a set of beliefs about prolonged coordinated harassment by groups or institutions. Responses should separate two situations. One, genuine harassment by identifiable perpetrators, and two, perceived or interpreted persistent attention without clear external coordination. If there's verifiable harassment by others, criminal harassment, stalking, workplace bullying, domestic abuse, organized neighborhood campaigns, then there is the duration, the variable and driven by perpetrators' motives, victims' responses, and outside intervention. It can last for days to decades. Some of the common patterns are short-term episodes tied to trigger, like a breakup, a job dispute, a court case, and this could be weeks, months. Sustained campaigns. You'll have a persistent stalker, an abusive ex, an organized dispute. This could be months to years. Intermittent recurrence. The harassment may stop, then it may restart again years later. Factors that end harassment are the perpetrators lose interest or they are deterred by legal consequences. Effective legal action like restraining orders, criminal charges, or law enforcement intervention. Another factor that may end harassment is changing victim visibility or moving to a new jurisdiction. Social or workplace changes. The perpetrator leaves the job or the community. So some of the practical actions that shorten or stop harassment are: you document incidents with dates, times, witnesses, photos, and preserve digital evidence. You report to police. Well, we know how that goes. Request incident numbers and copies of reports. And of course, when you get them back, they're empty, or they say, oh, well, we're still investigating that dead animal that was in your mailbox. Yeah. So a year later, I still don't have that incident report. And I'm sure I won't get it because they're still investigating it. The legal use of counsel specializing in stalking or harassment. Improving personal security, privacy settings, changing your routine, CCTV, change contact details, securing your home. Using victim support services and mental health professionals to manage safety and planning stress. Now, if the experience is consistent with internal perceptions of being targeted but lacks independently verified perpetrators, the duration would be uncertain. There will be distressing perceptions. You can feel it's continuous, all-encompassing until it is addressed by appropriate supports. Resolution paths that reliably reduce or stop the experience. So you might want to have an assessment to identify the treatable causes. If it's post-traumatic stress disorder, sleep deprivation, substance abuse, neurological conditions. Effective treatments include psychotherapy like CBT for anxiety, medication when indicated, and social support. And then, of course, what may happen is there's trauma. It's stress-focused interventions, sleep hygiene, substance cessation, and stabilization of life stressors that often reduce the intensity and frequency of the targeting. Peer support groups and case managers to rebuild safety and reality testing strategies. Now, when it comes to reality checking guidance applicable to both situations, focus on collecting evidence. Distinguish corroborated events, like witnesses by others, which are recorded, from subjective interpretations. Corroborated evidence enables the legal and protective remedies. Videotaping and photos are undeniable. Do not wait for escalation to act. Early documentation and reporting increase the chance of stopping harassment. Well, it hasn't stopped here. Prioritize safety. If in immediate danger, contact emergency services. Yeah, they do nothing. Use independent advocates like victim services, legal aid to translate complaints into enforceable actions. The typical timelines examples would be workplace bullying. It will escalate over months. HR legal interventions can stop it within weeks or months, but they usually don't. So then that is considered to be mobbing. When a person in a position of authority is aware of the situation and chooses to participate, turn a blind eye and not do anything, it is considered mobbing. Then, in summary, there is no fixed duration for gang stalking. If others are demonstrably harassing you, documented evidence plus legal and security measures are the most reliable ways to stop it. Well, that's not necessarily true. This is a bot. This is the bot, sort of like a ChatGPT kind of thing. If the targeting is experienced without verifiable external perpetrators, it's saying that clinical evaluation and treatment to reduce and resolve the distressing experience. So this is a bot. Now we all know that in early on, most people don't have evidence because it's very difficult to document until somebody leaves a dead animal in your mailbox, or poopy diapers, or calls you out to the county road, screaming at you, harassing your workers and stuff. I mean, it's like the stupidity is endless here in Jackson County, Kentucky. But for other people, may not have those kinds of direct, verifiable pieces of evidence. Seeing different colored cars driving back and forth and considering that to be harassment is not necessarily something that you could bring into a court of law. So now there's another woman who wrote here, and again, this is 3 years ago, okay? And it was originally answered as to why are targeted individuals gang stalked? Okay, so the first question was, how long does it last? And this question is, why are individuals stalked? And this person, 30 years ago, Just Ree, she says, I've been giving this some thought. On my short time here on Quora, I've noticed that many TIs are educated, credentialed, or otherwise hardworking people, skilled within some sort of trade, and relatively good at what they do. Then I began to realize that I am someone who hates injustice, like me. I root for the underdog. I want to see people do the right thing, and I don't like it when evil prevails over good. I realize that it isn't perfect, and I'm certainly not either. But I love the premise of good that America stands for. I can remember singing "My Country 'Tis of Thee" louder than the rest of the other second graders in my class. My faith teaches me to care and do what I can within my circle of influence to help make the world a better place. I don't take lightly to bullies. Well, that sounds just like me. I believe with all my 100 in fighting for what is right. Is it possible that TIs are those intellectuals who don't go along quietly according to plan? Our eyes are wide open, awake to what is happening, while many others in the world are asleep for now. We question things. We are curious about the world. We wonder. Well, I know I do. I've mentioned in other threads that I'm not someone who believes in anarchy. but I will stand firmly against opposition, even if only silently, in how I vote, or in who and how I love, how I think, and by not taking the blue or red pill. Because I just say no to drugs, LOL, she writes. I try not to let the wool be pulled so easily over my eyes. The enemy works through deception, plots, strategies, slander, and lies. Perhaps this is a common thread with many of us TIs. We're dreamers and hopeful. We see very clearly, once our eyes are trained, between good and bad, and we don't succumb to the latter. We may all have differing circumstances, for example, torturers, but it's all remote, due, EMF, and inherently evil, a form of communal genocide. If this is about mind control, perhaps our minds are among the most stubborn. Or maybe it's our spirit that's strong. One can see the possibilities. If this is a set for the masses, military soldiers, or even criminals, I understand that there are differing ideas about the who, but ultimately it's all a means to an end. A new world order, one government, one currency, one religion, and one ruler whose mind controls it all. I think that if we should be encouraged, that we're all not as small as they try to make us think. One-on-one is considered a fair fight, not 20-on-1 or an entire team of governmental authorities against we the people. They're punishing us in secret because publicly would be deemed unlawful, unconstitutional, unjust, unethical, etc. No, it's not funny, but we must do what we can to maintain our individual and corporate level of sanity, and we should not sell ourselves short. If we're worthless, why not just eliminate the non-threat? Well, it would likely raise red flags, but so will a bunch of people all over the world with the same narrative eventually. And thank you so much for that comments. It was quite astute, very interesting. There were 43 responses to her post. She says, you need to connect with like-minded people, people who are experiencing the same things as you. And then you're spot on. We are targeted because we can see, because we're stronger than most, and they are terrified of us and are trying to keep us from our full potential. They're thieves. Thieves don't break into empty houses. Evil doesn't spend all this time, money, and resources terrorizing nobodies. You know, like I've said before, losers are not going to hunt another loser. They want to hunt down the winners. It's only the winners that are going to net them anything in this lifetime, right? So we're a big deal indeed for the reasons you stated, being ethical, outspoken against corruption, questioning people in power. We don't just drink the Kool-Aid. Trust your gut and stay true to yourself and your beliefs. And let's see, we've got a whole bunch more comments here. This person says, I have to thank my gang-stalking group. I have more happiness in my life than I've had in years. It made me look at what is important in my life, my relationship with God and the Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ, also my relationship with my family. Those two things were lacking in my life before the crazy started happening. They could take all my earthly possessions, and that's okay. I have a great life, and no matter what, they cannot break me mentally with these attacks. Strength comes not in numbers, but through the relationship with Christ. The Bible should be in everyone's guidance. It is the pathway to happiness. Another person says, please hear my story. It starts at a restaurant I was managing. I had a relapse on meth and was socially using. I was under the impression that the government had begun investigating me. I believed that people investigating me were getting impatient and wanting me to slip up for an easy arrest, so they started what's called street theater. I had people sitting in my restaurant while I was working, harassing me and talking crap very loud. They were trying to get me to react. I had people follow me around heavily and cause scenes. I had one particular man pull up to a gas station while I was getting fuel and yell, "Are you gonna pay for that?" trying to goad me into an altercation. They would follow me all hours, day, night, everywhere I went. The same man would sit across from me from my work at the coffee shop and stare at me when I went outside to smoke. They did this for months. At one point, I believe they started using advanced electronics on me, playing the sounds of children running around the roof of my work through my work speakers, or very statically talking crap during my phone calls, even playing sounds on my car stereo. I believe it was what the internet refers to as a targeted individual. Yeah, so this person, this is 2 years ago, is figuring out that they're targeted. Things got so much worse when I was at home. There was a fifth-wheel trailer sitting on the other side of the block that I could see from my backyard. Police in uniform would use a voice changer that I could see them hold up to their mouth and call my name standing next to the trailer. There were others in the trailer as well, and I believe this to be the temporary center of operation. No one lived in the house. It was parked next to, and a lot of cars stalking me were parked near it. I couldn't let my dog out to pee without someone near it saying something or hearing a gun go off. Then something horrible happened. I felt them hack my thoughts painfully. That's the best way I can describe it. A horrible and loud fax machine noise in each ear, while pain on my literal brain. They started taunting me by what I believe was wireless transmission of sounds to the bones that made my ear work, that began after the hacking noise. Only I could hear them, but they were very real, telling me where I was in my house and what I was doing, that they were watching. I felt like I was in the middle of a science horror movie. They tried to convince me my own eyes were their camera. Who could I go to for help at this point? I believe it was the very people who I would call for help that are doing this. I quit the dope fearing this was some horrible criminal investigation, but the harassment persisted. They started keeping me awake and by shooting blanks near my house or lighting fireworks, taunting and questioning me remotely, playing horrible things in my ears like the sound of my then a fiance having a sexual intercourse with someone else as it happened. I didn't even know she was cheating on me. It turned out to be true. They were telling me things that I would not have normally known or been able to know. They threatened to delete me the first chance they had to cover things up if anything slipped out. I ended up splitting up with my fiance and sending my kids to live with other members of their biological family for the summer. I lost my job, and after a couple more weeks of this, I came to the conclusion I was going to die, and I accepted that it was inevitable. I started talking the most shit I could to them. I started calling them out on everything they said. I picked up my headphones and started playing music and ignoring them to just rub it in that I did not care anymore. At this point, they got mad, and the fifth wheel left, but not before. Let me scroll. They gave me a message that I would suffer a fate worse than death. Things got quiet for a while. I got a different job and a new girlfriend. My kids came home. I noticed something different about me. Every time I would feel anything negative, it would build and build until I would explode. Things that shouldn't bother me, I would flip out about. I would still hear the occasional taunting of their radio transmissions to my ear, but it was at a tolerable level, and I kept pushing them out or ignoring it. Usually they tried to convince me they were still watching me by narrating things that I could have seen through my cell phone camera that I had done through the day, or to talk crap about me and my actions. This went on for 4 years, during which I did not use drugs. Then I ran into an old friend and made the mistake of thinking to myself, well, I've been clean, and I still hear them talking crap at me all the time, so what difference does it make? I relapsed. This is when the shit hit the fan. The voices hit me hard, but they were different, more evil. Everything they said was with the intent to hurt me or cause me intense fear. They taunted me with the most evil things you could imagine, and the next week was absolute nightmare. I tried to hold it together the best I could because I was surrounded by those I love. I was crying myself to sleep when I could sleep and was absolutely lost. They wouldn't stop. Non-stop evil, blasphemy. While I was sitting there and looking at my chest, my heart, I started smelling brimstone, and hell started opening up right in front of me. At this moment, my life changed forever. Jesus, his self, appeared in front of me and touched my heart with one finger and cast him out instantly and effortlessly. I remember seeing his finger touch me and seeing the white robe, and started to look up and thinking to myself, he has black hair? Then he showed me a house under construction and said to me, quit the dope and I'll build you a house in my Father's kingdom. In an instant after this was said, I was back in my truck in the Taco Bell parking lot, staring down at my chest with the food I just bought next to me. My world had been turned upside down. But the most amazing thing, the voices were gone. For years I'd been struggling with a demon possession. Since that day, I've been absolutely devoted to God and Jesus. I started not only reading the Bible, but actually understanding things I couldn't before. I started watching videos on YouTube about the Bible and my situation to find I am not alone. I particularly like evangelist videos about how to counter demonic attacks and breaking demonic strongholds. This is a very important part. The Bible has a scripture about demons returning home after being cast out, only to find it clean and neat and orderly, so they come with other demons, even more wicked than them. But I found out something very precious, actually worshiping God and loving Jesus. That part is important because it takes more than prayer. You got to overcome your pride and really worship God, like get on your knees, forehead to the ground, and worship. That will fill the vacancy in you and not allow the demons to return to you. One time a demon tried to spy on me while I was taking a dump. Demons don't know everything like God does, and so they have to watch you. They don't want you to know it's demons doing it. I was able to rebuke the demon and commented that they would even try to get a stronghold on me by my poop. I started calling it poop stander. Poop stander. And I was angry and lost its strength and left, giving up on me, returning to me for a place to occupy. I laughed pretty hard, calling a demon poop stander while taking a dump and calling it a demon on their desperation. Well, we all know that my neighbors want to be popular because they love their poop around here. They just love poopy diapers. They love poopy toilet paper. They just love their poop because Satanists love poop. They do. They revel in poop. So the targeted individuals' victims may be targeted by Satanists to cause demon possession. They're using the fear and paranoia generated by using meth to facilitate complete demon possession. Targeted individuals are victims of a demonic exodus. They're trying to populate and do horrible things to everyone here. If you're a targeted individual or have any of the symptoms I used to have, seek God, Jesus, and your nearest evangelist or anyone qualified by God to cast out demons. It's your only hope, and maybe the only hope for those close to you. My story continues, but for now, it's full of hope, love, and dedication to God, Jesus. So I thought that was a very interesting story here on Quora. And this was from 2 years ago. And the person goes by the name No Longer a Target. So we have a testimony here by No Longer a Target from 2 years ago. And then we've got the question, the Q&A, why are targeted individuals gang-stalked? And then the other original question, the first question was, How long does gang stalking last? So I hope you found this interesting. I hope you learned something from this, and leave a comment down below. And thank you again for subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you receive notifications when I post videos. And I will talk to you guys soon.